Hello and welcome to LEAP's final Regional Resiliency Report of 2020. This month, we'll talk with Jo Sinha of Peckham about the importance of disability diversity in the workplace and how companies can integrate disability inclusion into their existing diversity, equity, and inclusion work. We'll also hear a holiday message from LEAP President and CEO Bob Trezise, reflecting on some of the economic development highlights from the past year and looking ahead to 2021 and beyond.
Well, it's been, I would say, both a rewarding and a heartbreaking kind of year. And because of that, LEAP has had to do short-term emergency work. We've delivered $7 million to nearly 500 small businesses across Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton County. We did it with intentionality to make sure that we represented every corner of our entire region, but also to make sure that we gave a lot of money to typically underrepresented communities. While we did that, we had to make sure to keep our eye on the ball. That's economic development, the big picture. And we want to make sure that we didn't allow a lost year or a lost year and a half turn into a lost decade. So while we were doing emergency work with small businesses, we kept on with our jobs. And we have a lot of projects underway now in the city of Lansing. The Temple Club building is one example. The city market, downtown Lansing with the Meyer Urban Grocery Store was one of our projects. Congratulations. Thank you to Mayor Shore and the city for those projects that LEAP was honored to work on. We have a major construction project in Delhi Township that we worked on. The Glanbia project is now up and running with its production, which is the nation's largest dairy production facility that LEAP landed from Ireland a couple years ago. In addition to that, I'm pleased to report to you that our project attraction pipeline across the world right now is the busiest it's ever been. There's potential to have numerous international size type of announcements very soon. Businesses, reshoring, manufacturing seem to be, because of the virus and other factors, are not taking a year to make decisions, but are going to make decisions in just a month or two. So we'll see how it all works out, but it certainly is very encouraging, and we feel very optimistic about all that. LEAP also launched the One and All program this year, which is an entrepreneurial program for folks who live and work below the working poverty line, the ALICE threshold that we call it. Well, there's been so much more work beyond that, but thank you to our LEAP members who make LEAP possible. We're hired every year to do economic development by our members, private and public sector, to represent our region and make sure that we do those things correctly. And it's a real honor to work for you and on behalf of you. I think that we continue to elevate our region in an important global sort of way, creating jobs and investment and a better life for everyone within our region. So in other words, I think collectively together, this has been our finest hour. Very difficult, but very tough, but in a way rewarding as well. The horror going on, the people who have lost their lives is mind-boggling. And yet we continue to persevere. We hold on to one another. We work together. We got to be tough another 6 to 8 months. We need federal stimulus and relief from both the state and federal level to make sure that that hole late next year is as shallow as possible. We're convinced, if that's the case, that we can pop out very rapidly from an economic standpoint, have a very strong November, December next year, and have a probably historic economic recovery and economy in 2022 and beyond. But we need to make sure that that hole is shallow and that we work very hard these next 6 to 8 months. So that's kind of a summary of 2020, what we're looking forward to in 2021. We have a lot of exciting new initiatives. And we're going to continue to elevate our entire region for all people. Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We're going to get through this, and it's good times, better times are coming. Take care.
Now we'll hear more from Jo Sinha about disability diversity and a recent MSU study outlining the positive impact disability diversity has on workplaces in the manufacturing sector.
I'm the new CEO at Peckham. It feels almost coming up to a year here pretty quickly. But I wasn't the CEO at Peckham I didn't even get 30 days without COVID.
Oh my God.
So my entire CEO tenure here has been predominantly adjusting to COVID and leading the team through a global pandemic. So that was not on the list of things I thought I would be doing in my first year.
Right.
But as you know, Peckham prides itself on being a flexible workplace, and we are a pretty resilient organization. So I can't say that we've thrived, but we have done a bit better than survived. We've been successful during a global pandemic, and that's a huge credit to our staff and our workforce. I've actually been at Peckham for probably since 1994, so a while, however many years that is, and have worked here in a number of capacities. You know, my background, or my personal background, is I had a younger brother. I come from a large family, 7 kids in my family. And I have a younger brother who is a year younger than I was, who was born with a developmental disability, and a father who is an attorney in a really small town, but who had a bent for social justice. And all along the way, as my brother grew up in a world that did not value inclusion of people with disabilities, and had structured a very kind of rigid separation. Yeah, it taught me a lot. You know, we continue throughout all of the advances that we have made and changes that we've made in disability policy, continue to see a really low employment rate of people with disabilities. And that comes, you know, from some of the same old things that we've been dealing with for a really long time, just a lack of expectation in some ways, a lack of knowledge. We still have, you know, big gaps in our research and in making informed disability policy. Oftentimes we still do disability policy on the basis of opinion and ideologies, rather than the hard work that Professor Nariam and others have been doing to put actual data to it, to show what inclusion of workers with disabilities can do for a company. So Peckham is a pretty well-known vocational rehabilitation agency across the company. We're one of the larger programs that participate in the Ability One program, and people have asked me, what's the secret to your success? And I actually say it's Michigan State University. That we have been able to leverage the research, the expertise, the energy that having a teaching and research university just a few miles down the road, and the engagement that we've been able to have with our university in helping move this field forward. And this is, you know, the study that came out, the impact of disability diversity on productivity in a work integration and social enterprise, really long name, was really well accepted by a very prestigious journal. So it's another great example of the contribution of Michigan State University to, you know, issues across a wide range of fields. And right now, of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion topics are first and foremost, but this research started way long before that became a topic. As you see in his research paper, he started this research almost 6 years ago and collected data across a really long period of time. And we talk a lot about, you know, diversity in terms of gender and ethnicity, but no, there is almost nothing out there in terms of research of the impact of diversity, or the positive impact of diversity among different types of disabilities. So oftentimes in disability policy, we treat disability as if it's a one monolithic thing, and that everyone who has a disability is all disabled in the same kind of way, and so therefore the one-size-fits-all policy. But it is so much more complex than that, and I think this paper points out that complexity. Professor Narayanam absolutely pulled from all of the diversity research showing that diversity across gender and ethnicity and race in a workplace increases performance overall, and then looked at that in terms of disability diversity and found that exact same thing to hold true. So that was, this is a great example of that partnership with Michigan State University, exciting new discoveries, ways of looking at and using data, and hopefully, and his is of course focused on how you structure a work team. But for me, I think there's just so much broader implications in how we structure disability policy. People, as we've seen from this research and others as a whole, perform better when there is diversity. And when not everybody on their work team looks and talks just like them. It allows us to reach outside of ourselves and think of new ways and see different ways of doing things. And that's what's so important, and why diversity in disability is so important. So if I am with everybody who has my same kind of disability, I may not be reaching my full potential, because I need and want exposure to other abilities. A lot of employers are nervous, and the paper talks about the different kinds of accommodations, and talks about, if you read the paper, how complex it is to manage the different types of accommodations and actual perceptions of fairness or not. We know the very best kind of accommodations are those that are universal, that are universally adopted and make everyone in the workforce more productive. Those are when you have nailed the accommodation. Is it not only supported that person to be able to work in that job, but it increased the productivity of their entire work team. In reality, all of us know somebody who has been impacted or by a disability, has had barriers put in their way, and many of those barriers should not have been there, shouldn't have been a barrier. And so there's still a lot of work, as I say, to actively reduce those barriers, to think about things like remote work in a different way as an accommodation, because there's an incredibly talented pool of folks out there. We've been working on increasing employment among people with disabilities for 40, 50 years now. We've not moved that metric a ton. But one of the things that we really have to, our next kind of area of focus is upward mobility. So, and creating those career pathways and those continuing learning opportunities that people can continue to grow within their career path. And that is something that's absolutely near and dear to my heart. So that's a broad range of inclusion, and something that I just, from a perspective of both economics, as well as ethics, and well as just, compassion and care for our fellow human being, there's just no argument you could come up with that would tell you that this is to not do this. I mean, every piece of data out there is telling us to include people with disabilities, to include diversity among people with disabilities in your workplace, and it will have positive economic benefits if you're looking at it from a margin perspective, but it also has positive morale ethics or morale impacts from your own workforce.
Yeah. Well, and like you mentioned too, when you were talking about the concept of accommodations, it's often not about just, making an accommodation for someone who has a specific barrier. It's about making things better as a whole. So as you're creating workplaces that are more friendly to people with a range of abilities and disabilities, you're just making the workplace better, and you're making opportunities for people to increase their productivity, to have a greater quality of life, enjoy their work better. And, I agree with you that there's not really an argument for why that's a bad thing. Like, if you can make a situation better for all people and make it accessible to people who it was previously inaccessible to, why wouldn't you do that?
Right. Right. And that's exactly it. And that's exactly what is really a positive benefit of the accommodation process, is because while you might be looking at an accommodation for that specific person, absolutely somebody else in your workplace has encountered that as a barrier, or you're not able to hire the talent in you want because that's a barrier. You don't even know who you're missing out on because of that. And so the better able that people are able to voice and feel free to voice within that workplace what are barriers for their own success, the better able as an employer you're going to unleash the potential of your workplace, whether that has to do with an accommodation for a person with a disability. That really is in many ways, it's been a barrier for someone somewhere, has encountered it, and now somebody has highlighted that and brought that to your attention. It's an opportunity for you to create a much more inclusive environment and lower barriers for untapped pools of talent that you hadn't thought of before, you didn't even know that you were excluding. So.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me. I'm super excited to see how Peckham continues to evolve and help meet the needs of the really diverse disability community in Lansing and beyond under your leadership. And I just appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks. It was great to meet you, Katlyn.
It was great to meet you too. Thanks so much for watching today and over the past year. We're proud of the work LEAP has been able to do to support the Lansing region as we navigate the economic effects of COVID-19, which wouldn't be possible without the tremendous support of our membership and the valuable partnerships we have across the region. We look forward to continuing this work in 2021 and wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. See you next year.